They lied to you. They told you to chase pleasure like it was the purpose of life. They wrapped lust in perfume and pleasure in the glow of a screen and said, "This is freedom." But look around, men are not free. Men are addicted, distracted, drained. Not by war, not by poverty, but by their own desires. And you know it. You know what it feels like to be a slave to the urge. That pull that hijacks your focus, your time, your discipline, and your dignity. That whisper that says, "Just one more time," and then takes an hour of your life. That craving that feels powerful but leaves you powerless. If you can't command your own lust, you will never command anything worth leading. You see, lust is not your enemy, but uncontrolled lust. That is a tyrant in disguise. Lust is nature's rawest weapon. It was designed to keep the species alive. It wasn't made to serve your greatness. It was made to serve your biology. And unless you tame it, it will pull you by the throat into comfort, into addiction, into emptiness, disguised as pleasure. Every empire that fell began with a powerful man who thought he could handle temptation. He couldn't. And neither can you, unless you take control now. Most men don't lose their lives. They lose their edge. They don't crash, they leak. They leak time, ambition, testosterone, spiritual clarity, through lust. Because lust is not just sexual. Lust is hunger unrestrained. It's the craving for what is easy, soft, instant. And every time you submit to it, you trade your future for a fleeting feeling. You cheat on your destiny with a shadow on a screen. You give your empire to dopamine. And then you wonder why nothing in your life feels solid. Why you can't focus. Why your mind is foggy. Why you don't feel like a man. Because somewhere inside, your biology has declared, this man cannot lead. He cannot protect. He cannot delay gratification. He is weak. That's why your confidence disappears after you indulge. That's why you feel guilt and shame even when no one is watching. Because you're not living in alignment with your future. You're betraying it. But here's the truth. No one tells you. Lust is not something to be hated. It's something to be harnessed. Semen is not weakness, it's nuclear power. Desire is not sin, it's signal. But only if you transmute it. The ancient warriors knew this. The monks, the generals, the emperors. They didn't suppress lust, they redirected it. They turned it into focus, into clarity, into energy, into fire. And the modern man, he wastes it in the dark with a phone in his hand. You were not made for that. You were made to conquer, not to chase shadows. You were made to build legacy, not to scroll lust. You were made to lead empires, but empires are not built by men who leak their power every night. You want power. Earn it. And power begins where lust ends. There is no man who reached greatness by indulging his every craving. There is no warrior who won by feeding every hunger. There is no king who ruled by obeying his impulses. What separates the powerful from the powerless is not intelligence. It's restraint. Because anyone can chase, only the strong can delay. You think you're in control because you choose when to give in. But that's not power. That's addiction with a schedule. True power is when the craving arises and you look it in the eye and say, no, not now. I have a war to win. Because that's what this is, war. Not out there, in here. Inside your mind, inside your blood. A war between the part of you that wants comfort and the part of you that wants the crown. And only one of them gets to live. You can't be both slave and general. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. You can't claim kingship when you bow to lust like a servant. You say you want to be unstoppable. Then stop being controlled. Because lust will lie to you. It will say you deserve this. You've earned this. That it's harmless. That it's just one time. But lust doesn't deal in single moments. It deals in patterns. And those patterns become prisons. Invisible, comfortable, addictive. Every time you say yes to lust, you say no to your future self. You say no to clarity. You say no to command. You say no to energy, to purpose, to empire. You don't need motivation. You need mastery. And mastery isn't sexy. It's not flashy. It's not easy. It's you, alone, at 1 a.m., saying no to the urge that wants to break you. It's you, waking up with fire in your chest, not regret. It's you, walking into the world with a spine straight, a gaze cold, and a soul that knows it is not ruled by desire, it rules desire. Because the man who can master lust can master anything. He becomes unshakable. He becomes unstoppable. He becomes rare. And in a world full of men who trade their thrones for temporary release, you will be the one who stands. Tall, focused, ruthless, free. They won't teach you this in school. Because a man in control of his desires is dangerous. He can't be sold distraction. He can't be lured by shiny lies. He doesn't bow to marketing or media or modern addiction. He is unbuyable. Because when you control lust, you don't just control sex. You control attention. And in this era, attention is the new currency of war. If they can steal your attention, they can steal your time, your will, your mission. And what is lust, really, if not the perfect hijacker of focus? Think of the hours lost, the mornings ruined, the sleep shattered. Think of the projects that died in your hands because you had nothing left to give. Your fire drained by 5 seconds of weakness. And you call that freedom. That's not freedom. That's enslavement wearing the mask of pleasure. That's obedience to the lowest part of you. The part that only wants now. Never legacy, never mission, never impact. Only now. But you weren't built for now. You were built to shape the future. And the future isn't built by men who binge. It's built by men who burn. With vision, with purpose, with restraint. So here's the truth. The most powerful man in any room is not the one who sleeps with the most women. It's the one who doesn't need to. It's the one who can walk away from temptation. Not because he fears it, but because he's seen something greater. A vision, a destiny, a crown. Lust is loud, but legacy is louder if you're willing to listen. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's lonely. Yes, you'll feel insane some nights, saying no when every cell screams yes. But power was never meant for the comfortable. It was meant for the cold, the clear, the committed. You don't conquer lust once. You conquer it every single day. Every morning when you rise, you choose. Will I serve my cravings? Or will I serve my calling? That choice is everything. You think you need more motivation. You don't. You need a mirror. You need to look at the man staring back and ask, is this who I promised I'd become? Because deep down, you remember the boy who dreamed of greatness, not of pleasure, not of escape, of glory. He didn't want ease. He wanted edge. He didn't want comfort. He wanted conquest. And now, that boy is watching you scroll, you click, you waste, while the fire he once lit flickers in silence. But it's not too late, because that fire is still there, buried, perhaps, drowned, mocked, but not dead. It's waiting for a man willing to bleed for his potential, for a man willing to suffer so he can lead, for a man who chooses discomfort not because it's fun, but because it's necessary. Necessary to become sharp, necessary to become dangerous, necessary to become worthy. Because if you can't say no to yourself, why should the world say yes to you? You want to command respect. Earn it by commanding your own mind, your own urges, your own lust. You want to be a warrior? Then fight the war within. Every single day. Because lust doesn't come once. It returns. When you're tired. When you're bored. When you're lonely. When you've almost made it. And every time, you must answer with steel. You must become the man who doesn't flinch, doesn't fall, doesn't feed his lower self, but instead feeds the fire, builds the empire, becomes the storm, not for applause, not for fame, but because he remembers power was never given. It was claimed by those who mastered what others let destroy them. So choose now. Because if you don't control lust, you don't deserve power.